Sometimes you get a chance to interview someone who has impressed you for a very long time. And I'm going to show you that someone in my life when we get back. Okay? Okay. Hey, CLM II for Style with Power, the channel that helps empower men through style. And if you're into videos that talks about fashion, that talks about style, that talks about empowerment, and that talks about mindset, well, this is the channel for you. So don't forget to go down, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll know every time we upload a video. Hey, happy Monday. Have you ever had a person that has meant so much to your life that you would just love for others to meet that person? Well, I had a chance to interview someone who has meant a great deal to my life. This gentleman is a scholar, he's an organizer, he's an influencer, he's a teacher, and he's just so giving of all of the information that he has that I just thought that it would be great for you to meet someone like him. So, without any further ado, let's take a look. Hey, this is CLM II for Style with Power, and I'm sitting here with one of my mentors, one of the guys who I truly admire, and I have been studying him for over 10 years now. This guy's a true scholar. He has done some incredible things. He has built programs. I've been to a lot of his workshops. He has created conferences. He has done stuff in church, outside of church, in higher education, outside of higher education, in corporate America, outside of corporate America. This guy has done it all. And I did promise you that I was going to introduce you to him. So without any further ado, my friend, my pal, Mr. Ron West. What's up, Ron?
How you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm good. So, Ron, we're just going to have a conversation, man, about your career. I always seen you as a scholar. You was always the guy who, when I came to your office way back in the day, you used to give me a packet full of stuff that you used to give your students and stuff like that.
Paper.
Yeah, a lot of paper used to come from you. That's absolutely true. So let's just start from the beginning. How did you get into higher education?
Well, I was working for a nonprofit agency in the Bronx.
Okay.
And, in the Bronx, but then we were transferred to Brooklyn. And my manager at the time, her mother was a freshman year counselor at Medgar Evers College. Okay. So I'd worked for like 3 years in nonprofit, and I was really a bit tired of that. So there was a position open as a freshman counselor at Medgar Evers, and I went through the submission and got the interview. And when I got there, I was talking to the dean and the vice president, and they said that there are two positions open. There was a position in freshman year counseling, but they also had a career services office. Right. They called it career services at the time. And they said no one has been there for like almost 2 years, and would you be interested? Right. And we think your personality is better suited for that than as a freshman counselor. So I said, look, which one pays the most money?
Of course.
And she said, well, career services one does. And you have like 2 weeks to make up your mind which one you want. Right. So I knew I had either one. So I thought about it, and I talked to a friend about it, and I had never done that. Right. I was not trained in that at all, but I knew fundamentally, what it meant. So I came back. I said, look, I'll take the career services piece.
Now, your philosophy, as you told me recently, has changed about the whole career development piece. And because my channel is about mindset and about empowerment, to young people, let people know. Why your philosophy has changed about career development.
Well, what's changed is, the field is dominated by white people. Okay. And it was always career services. See, when somebody said, well, what do you do? Well, I'm a career educator. I'm not a career serviceman. A serviceman comes and fixes radiators and windows and stuff like that in cars. Right. I am a career educator. Career services to the average person meant, resumes and learn how to interview and getting a job. Right. But it's more than that. And then even in the hierarchy at the colleges, when you sit in meetings with the student affairs staff and you're sitting on the other side as the academics, they always look at us as less than.
Okay.
It was always very because they had no respect for us. Education is all in the name. If you want to be if you want to be something to somebody, you have to put that name there.
Right.
So our office became the Office of Career Development and Education. They didn't mind me changing it, and I gave them all the reasons why. It wasn't because of what I felt, because I wanted to change it, but it had to become more valuable to the students and their perception of who we are.
Okay.
So what has changed for me was that we were thought of as so little. And I said, look, when I started to understand how important all of this is to students. Most people can't articulate this. Even the president didn't even know. But they want to see you have a career. They want to see all the hoopla stuff, but they don't really care what you do.
Okay.
So for me, as a point of value, and going to conferences, getting to know people, I made it a point to go to strategic conferences, national and local, and get involved with them, be on committees, chair presentations, because I wanted to get a feel for what it is that was happening. And being a man of color was rare. But I had to put my foot right in the middle of where they were. The whole issues of diversity, LGBT issues, all those. I wanted to be at the table.
Okay.
So as I started to listen to my colleagues respectfully, that's when my understanding started to shift, because for many of them, these are white women now, it's like a feel-good position. Oh, their husband has a nice job. I'm going to have a job working as a career counselor, and and teach kids how to interview. Well, it's deeper than that,
right?
Because it becomes political and it becomes based upon ethnicity.
Okay, and now I remember years ago where you mentioned that one of the things about public education is that they really don't connect their recruitment policies to the career development education office, and that private institutions, I don't know if you got that look at your face, you remember this conversation,
okay.
But private institutions, when a new student comes on campus to go to that school, they always connect it to a career by saying that our school has produced the most.
Right.
Right.
See, it gets very tricky with public education because, we always looked at it as a less than.
Right.
And unfortunately, the people that run the offices on these campuses are really not outside of themselves. They do the work and they're nice people, but you have to understand the dynamic of all of it. I mean, and we have to be very, very clear. The employers want a certain type of person.
Right.
And I think if to address what you're saying, I've had some very honest conversations about what people want, and they don't, by and large, want what we have. Once in a while, out of 10 people, they may take 1 or 2. So our office becomes a place where we build up hopes and dreams, but sometimes there's very little results.
Wow. So
those conversations, as a director, you have to start to relate to your students, and you have to start looking outside of yourself. You have to have honest conversations with recruiters about what they really want.
Okay.
How they feel about your kids, how they feel about their preparation. Now, I've kind of been away from running an office for a little bit, but I think now they're feeding into how to prepare them as best as possible.
Okay.
But the personality of the director, you have to be such an advocate to find out what truths are about this thing, because you're making promises, you're bringing people in, you're getting them ready, they're getting nothing. And so you look at that.
Right.
So I think that now that, as a director, you have to have the vision and the imagination, I think, to take the office where it needs to go. And wherever it has to go, you have to be able to articulate that to whoever it is that you're working for. Here's where I want to take this.
Okay.
And here's why I want to make it happen, because you have to understand that this is an area that Black people and people of color nationally don't really have a big stake in.
Right.
You have to create and connect with people on the outside to look at, well, how do I improve my programming. It's not just about doing the same thing all the time.
Right.
You know, so I think that moving fast forward, you have to create your own banner for where in your own vision, and it has to reflect what employers want and what it is that you have. Because at private schools, they're known for certain kinds of product.
Right.
Public schools are you kind of have to mine it. Okay, here's all these students coming, but you're only going to find one or two. So how do we improve that? And what's the office role going to be?
So this is the one thing, and you've seen me talk about this before, and I actually was recommended to read this book from you.
Yeah. And it was given to me by a student.
And I noticed that you really have taken to this book.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's talk a little bit about, why the book captured you so much, and what is it about the book that makes you...
Well, just like a very dear friend, a former classmate of mine, passed away now, a great poet named Sekou Sundiata, said that there's let me give you the short version of the long version. And right now, we're living in a time when the short version is really important.
Okay.
People are not listening to the long version very much any longer. You can't keep their attention. But I remember a gentleman when I was at BMCC, he was at New York 1, and he was the head of HR, but he came to recruit. He and I got to be real good friends. Irish guy, cool. He said, Ron, keep your main thing the main thing.
Right.
And so I had 6 years, I created a component for this wonderful internship program with the City of New York, the School Construction Authority, which worked with STEM students who were majoring as architects, engineers, and business people. And one of my students who I just got attracted to, I saw her one day walking down the hall, and there's something about her whole vibe. I said, who is this person? Mm-hmm. We became friends. Her parents wanted to talk to me about her in terms of her selections, where she wanted to go, things like that. She wanted to go to Syracuse. At the end of graduation that year, her father gave me this book and wrote inside of it how grateful he was. I got the book in August. I didn't open it until October, but I haven't closed it.
Wow.
In 5 years. I mean, the ends are all frayed, but there's something in this book. It tells you about habits.
Right.
And it tells you how, you don't select your occupation, you select your habits. And your habits will select where you go.
Right.
See, that's character stuff. Then there's the P's, then there's the pyramid in here. Mm-hmm. Everything that we do, then it gets into the what's false about multitasking. Then we talk about how to be productive and how you use your time.
Right.
Then we talk about how being able to make something the priority, and how if you're gonna lead and choose that one thing,
right,
you can't have two one things. You can't have equality. You think about it conceptually, because what is equal? Equal means equal time. You can't. We don't live like that. Right. But the thing that comes out of this book, for me, is the P's, the purpose, the foundational stuff, the purpose, the priority, the productivity. I put in preparedness and progress, because I look at that as like the context for everything. I don't care if you're playing professional football, basketball, everything that you do. And by the way, I gave this book to my neighbor who's assistant coach for the Knicks.
Right.
I gave him to read this book. But what this book does, it gives you a context for how to operate. And it's almost like looking at a chest of drawers. Each drawer, like you have your underwear in one, your socks in the other one, your tie in one. So when you go get things, you just pull out the drawer. With this book, purpose is a drawer, priority, productivity. Everything that we do, when you think about everything that we do all the time, it's affected by one of those things.
Right.
So I tell students that, look, the way the world is right now, you're either going to be productive or unproductive. You're going to be a good student or a bad student. Why?
Right.
It generally has to do with the fact that as classroom managers, see, we have not learned, we do more talking than asking. Purpose is self-defining. Oh yeah, when you come into college, we have freshman year program, we have freshman advisement, and I always knew at BMCC, how the hell can somebody advise me? They don't even know me.
Right.
They're not asking me anything except what class you want to take. But what's my purpose? Why am I? What do I want out of this? How, who am I? What are my issues? What are my concerns? That's the purpose thing. Because see, you can't move ahead and be productive unless you resolve and be clear about your purpose.
Absolutely.
You can't move. But we're not addressing that. And I think that when we look at man's biggest fear, the biggest fear of a man, and I always ask this question to students, I said, what's the biggest fear of a person who's had an interesting life? And the answer is that when he fails to become productive, he's terrified.
Right.
That's why the word retirement is terrifying. That means the stop of something. I like to think about transitioning. So, as we look at our purpose, when students will come into me, oh, Mr. West, can I talk to you? I want to talk to you. I say, yeah, come on in. And I always tell them,
what?
Give me the story, and then give me the truth.
Give me the story.
Because see, we all have stories.
Right.
See, this book cuts through all the stories.
Okay.
This book is not. This is not a story right here.
Right. Right.
This is like a prescription. When you go to the doctor, oh doctor, I'm not feeling so hot. The doctor gives you a chance to describe all your aches and pain.
Right.
That's the story.
Right.
Okay, now here, take that. You call the pharmacy up, take that, and go get it and take some of it.
Yeah.
That's what that book is. So, fundamentally, it really causes you to think about yourself. What's my purpose? What's my and see, out of that becomes, and I challenge students. What is your mission statement as a student? What is your vision statement for yourself?
Right.
That's that.
Well, there you have it, folks. That gentleman, Mr. Ron West, has meant so much, and he has so much knowledge and so much information that we could just, we could talk for hours, and I wouldn't be able to put it all on video. So I had to cut it down. But let me just let you know, I will be interviewing him again, and we will be going over some other things because he has so much to offer. And of course, once again, as you see in the video, he was the gentleman who introduced the book to me, The One Thing, and I recommend all of you go out there and get that book. I'll have a link in the description so that you can go and you can order the book. And I didn't even know, but the book has been out since 2013, so it's been out for a long time. So if you haven't read it, I definitely tell you that you should go out and you should read that book. This is my third video talking about that book, so you know that just by me reading it, I've been heavily influenced by the book, and I just will recommend it to a lot of you out there. So that's it for this week, and I will see you guys next Monday. Okay?